Hello everyone, my name is Suwaibah and I'm going to explain what is the digestive system and why it is so important to our body. So let's explore how this system works and its key structure. What is the digestive system? This system is a network of organs that work together to process the food we eat. The main purpose is to break down the food into the forms that the body can use, such as the energy and the nutrients. Without this system, our body will not be able to absorb the vitamins, mineral, and also the energy that necessary for proper function. Do you guys know how does the digestive system work? So this process begins as soon as we put food into our mouth, and the food will travel through our several organs before it's broken down into energy and waste that body can be eliminated. So let's take a closer look in the anatomy of digestive system. For the first part, the digestion process will begin in the mouth. So we chew food to break it into a smaller pieces, and the saliva contains the enzyme will start breaking down the carbohydrate. Once swallowed, the food will move to the stomach. Most of the digestion and nutrient absorption will occur in a small intestine. The broken down nutrients will be absorbed into a blood through the wall of intestine. For the last part, the undigested food will move to the large intestine where water and mineral are absorbed. What remains is eliminated from body through a rectum. Why is the digestive system is so important to our body? This is crucial because it will ensure our body gets all the nutrients to be function. If the digestion process isn't working properly, our body cannot use the food that we eat effectively, which can lead us to the health issues such as low energy and also the nutrient deficiency. To conclude, the digestive system is vital for breaking down food and absorbing nutrients to make sure our body will function optimally. Now, let's dive deeper into where the process of digestion begins, which is our mouth, and it starts with the chewing and action of saliva.
Hi, my name is Amira. Today I will talk about anatomy of the mouth. Mouth, as known as a oral cavity, is a part of the digestive system. It consists of various structures including lips, cheek, teeth, tongue, hard palate, soft palate, uvula, and tonsil. The hard palate consists of the maxillae and palatine bone, form the anterior roof of the mouth. Hanging from soft palate is a fleshy finger-like projection called the uvula. The tongue forms the floor of the mouth. The lingual frenulum, fold of the tongue, limit the movement of the tongue. Now we focus on the process happen in mouth. During chewing, as the food enter the mouth, is mixed with saliva and masticated. The lips and cheeks help keep food between the upper and lower teeth. The tongue continuously mixes food with saliva and initiates swallowing. During swallowing, the uvula move upward with soft palate, which prevent entry of swallowed food and liquids into the nasal cavity. Cheek gland, which it helps secrete saliva in digestion and lubrication. They are parotid, submandibular, and sublingual gland. Now we move to the anatomy and physiology of pharynx and larynx. When food is swallowed, it passes from the mouth into the pharynx. What is pharynx? Pharynx is a funnel-shaped tube that is composed of skeletal muscle and lined by mucous membrane. Food passes posteriorly into the oropharynx and laryngopharynx. Both are common passageway for food, fluids, and air. It extends from the internal nares to the esophagus posterior and the larynx anteriorly. The pharynx is subdivided three parts. First part is nasopharynx, part of respiratory pathway. Second part is oropharynx, which posterior to the oral cavity. Thirdly is the laryngopharynx, which continues with the esophagus in the inferiorly. Alternating contraction of the oropharynx and laryngopharynx help propel food into the esophagus. Next, we move to the anatomy of the esophagus. The esophagus is a muscular tube lined with stratified squamous epithelium that lies posterior to the trachea. It is 25 cm passageway, the bolus by peristalsis to the stomach. Physiology of esophagus begins at the end of laryngopharynx. It passes through the mediastinum and diaphragm and connect to the superior of the stomach. It transports food to the stomach and secretes the mucus. At the end of esophagus, the muscularis form two sphincters. First sphincter is the upper esophageal sphincter. It regulates the movement of food from pharynx into the esophagus. Second sphincter is lower esophageal sphincter. It regulates the movement of the food from the esophagus into the stomach. What is swallowing or deglution process? Is the movement of the bolus from the mouth to the stomach that helps by the saliva and mucus. Swallowing divided three stages. Firstly, volunteer stage. It happens when bolus is forced to the back of the mouth cavity into the oropharynx by the movement of the tongue upward and backward against palates. Secondly is involuntary pharyngeal stage. After bolus passes through the oropharynx, respiratory passageway open and breathing resume. Once the upper esophagus sphincter relaxed, the bolus move into the esophagus. Thirdly is esophageal stage. It occurs when food is pushed through the esophagus by process peristalsis.
Hi everyone, so today I will talk about an essential part of the human digestive system, which is the stomach. Let's begin with a simple definition. The stomach is a muscular bag that contains acid. Its primary role is to mix the food and drink we consume with this acid to start the digestion process. Stomach is J-shaped organ and sac-like structure. Position and size of the stomach varies continually depends on the individual. Stomach has four main regions. First, the cardia contains cardiac sphincter which prevents food from travelling back up to the esophagus. Second, the fundus, rounded section next to the cardia. The third one is the body. In the body, stomach contracts and begins to mix food. And last one, the phylorus contains florid sphincter which control when and how the stomach contents move to small intestine. Next, layer of muscle that make up the stomach. First, serous, layers of membrane that covers the stomach. Second, muscularis externa has three layers that contract and relax to break down food. And last one, mucosa has more ridges, and when stomach full, mucosa expand and the ridges flatten. Next is pancreas. The pancreas is a vital organ that releases enzyme into the intestine. This enzyme help break down lipids, protein, and carbohydrates. Pancreas is oblong structure located inferior to stomach. It made up by two types of tissue. First, exocrine tissue. It secretes digestive enzyme. This enzyme then secreted into a network of ducts that join the main pancreatic duct. Second, endocrine tissue. It consists of islet of Langerhans which secrete hormone into the bloodstream. Next, I will talk about the pancreatic duct. First, the main pancreatic duct. It unites with the common bile duct forming the ampulla of Vater which enter the descending part of the duodenum via major duodenal papilla. Second is the accessory pancreatic duct. It drains uncinate process and lower part of head which enter the second part of the duodenum via minor duodenal papilla.
For my slide, I'll be explaining about the liver, which is known as the largest gland in our body that offers a wide variety of functions. It is located at the right and left hypochondrium and at the epigastrium. We start with the external structure. There are four loops, including the right and left loops, along with the caudate and quadrate loops that receive blood from the left hepatic artery and deliver bile to the left hepatic duct. The liver is covered with two types of surfaces, which are the diaphragmatic and visceral surfaces. It also contains some impressions that can be found around the liver. For the internal structure, they divide it into 8 segments based on vascular and biliary supply. Hepatocyte cells perform metabolic detoxification, while the sinusoid capillaries allow the exchange between the blood and hepatocytes. The portal triad consists of branches of the hepatic artery and the portal vein, as well as the bile duct, while the central veins drain blood from the sinusoids into the hepatic veins. Next, we have the blood supply, starting with the dual blood supply, mainly from the hepatic artery and the portal vein, also with the hepatic vein that drains blood to the inferior vena cava. The hepatic blood flow of the liver, starting from the liver sinusoid to the central vein and to the hepatic vein. For the biliary system, we have the bile canaliculi that help collect bile, the bile ducts that can form the common hepatic duct when merged, and the gallbladder that stores bile. Now, I'll be explaining about the physiology of the liver that is essential for maintaining overall body homeostasis. For this slide, I'll be focusing more on the storage of the liver. The liver stores the glycogen to reduce the blood sugar levels and convert it to the glucose for the opposite effects. It also stores vitamins, copper, and iron that aid in red blood cell production, while the triglyceride act as an energy reserve.
Next, I'll be talking about the small intestine, where most digestion and absorption of food takes place. It is divided into three regions, the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum, and it is the longest part of the gastrointestinal tract and extends from the pyloric orifice of the stomach to the ileocecal junction. The duodenum extends from the pyloric sphincter of the stomach, wraps around the head of the pancreas in a C shape, and ends at the duodenojejunal flexure. Ducts from the liver, gallbladder, and pancreas enter the duodenum to provide juices that neutralize acids coming from the stomach and help to digest proteins, carbohydrates, and fat. Moving on to the jejunum, it begins at the duodenojejunal flexure, is deep red in color because of its extensive blood supply, while its peristaltic movements are rapid and vigorous. It functions to absorb most fat. Lastly, the ileum. It has narrow and thinner walls in comparison, has a limited blood supply, and slower peristaltic movements. It terminates at the ileal orifice or the ileocecal junction, where the cecum of the large intestine begins, and it functions to absorb vitamin B12, bile salts, and remaining digestion products that were not digested by the duodenum or the jejunum. Moving on to the histology of the small intestine, plicae circularis are circular folds that are permanent ridges of the mucosa and submucosa that encourage turbulent flow of chyme. Intestinal villi form finger-like projections covered with a simple columnar epithelium which project into the lumen of the small intestine. Between the villi are intestinal glands which secrete intestinal juice rich in digestive enzyme. Microvilli are projections of microscopic folds in the apical surface of the plasma membrane on each intestinal cell. The plicae circularis, villi, and microvilli all contribute to increasing the surface area of the small intestine, allowing for maximal absorption of nutrients. Moving on to the last component of the gastrointestinal tract, we'll be talking about the large intestine. It is about 1.5 meters in length, extending from the ileocecal valve to the anus. It has 4 parts, including the cecum, the colon with its various parts, the rectum, and the anal canal. The large intestine has several distinct anatomical characteristics, including the epiploid appendages, haustra, and tinea coli. Epiploid appendages are fat-filled pouches of peritoneum attached externally to the walls of the large intestine, while haustra are circulations along the large intestine, due to the length of tinea coli being shorter than the length of the large intestine. And lastly, tinea coli are 3 longitudinal bands of smooth muscle located underneath the peritoneum. Hanging inferior to the ileocecal valve is the cecum, a small pouch about 2.5 inches in length. Attached to the cecum is a 3 centimeter coiled tube called the appendix. The open end of the cecum merges with a long tube called the colon with its various parts, including the ascending colon, the transverse colon, descending colon, and lastly the sigmoid colon. The last 8 inches of the GI tract is the rectum, which is anterior to the sacrum and coccyx. Lastly, the terminal 1 inch of the rectum is called the anal canal, the opening of which is called the anus.
Moving on to the next part, my name is Nurfahimah binti Shahdan, and I will continue with physiology of GIT system, specifically at mouth and esophagus. Alright, this digestive system will begin when you start chewing your food until it forms a compressed ball. This compressed ball is called bolus. It will then go through your esophagus and other parts of GIT system like stomach, small intestine, and so on. So the digestion is divided into 2 parts, which is mechanical digestion and chemical digestion. At mouth, there will be only one molecule to be digested, which is carbohydrates. What happens here is that starch will be converted into maltose by breaking it into small particles with the action of chewing. While chewing, there will be also saliva, mucus, and alpha amylase to speed up the reaction. These salivary amylase will be non-active once the pH falls below approximately 4. Next, the action of swallowing is divided into 3 parts, which are buccal, pharyngeal, and esophageal. The food will be mixed, forming bolus, which will then be swallowed. This process is voluntary and cannot be stopped once it is initiated, while peristalsis, which is the movement of bolus, is involuntary. So, what happens here is the tongue will push the bolus to shut off nasopharynx, causing respiration to be inhibited. Then, larynx is raised and the glottis is closed to prevent food from entering the trachea. If only small particle of food enters the respiratory tract, coughing will then occur.
Okay, so now with me, let's continue with the physiology of stomach. So the stomach is a vital organ in the digestive system that serves multiple functions. It acts as a temporary storage site for food and allowing individual to consume meal more efficiently without the need for immediate digestion. The stomach also plays a critical role in the breaking down food through two main processes, chemical digestion and mechanical digestion. Okay, they have two parts in the stomach. Okay, first is upper storage part and the second is lower mixing part. So the regions of the upper storage part is at the fundus and the upper body. So the function of upper storage part is when eating is stretched to hold food without squeezing it right away and to keep the food there for a while so the lower part can work on a small bit at a time. For the lower mixing part, the regions at the lower body and antrum. So the function of lower mixing part is to squeeze and churn food, mixing it with stomach acid and digestive juice. And when food is ready, it slowly push small amounts through pylori sphincter with it the gate. Okay, so now let's see the motility pattern in the gastrointestinal tract, which including the stomach, esophagus, and the intestine. So the first one is the peristalsis. What is peristalsis? Peristalsis is a wave-like motion that moves food forward. And where it happens in the esophagus, stomach, and the small intestine. So the function of peristalsis is to propel food and shine through the digestive tract. So the next one is the oscillatory movement. So what is it? It is a back and forth motion of the bowel wall. So it happens in the small and large intestine. So its function is to ensure true mixing of chyme and slow down movement for better absorption. So the last one is the rhythmic segmentation. What is it? Is it an alternating contraction that divide and mix the contents? So it happens in small and large intestine and the function to enhance mixing of food with digestive enzyme. Carbohydrate digest more faster than the protein and fat. So the protein and fat took about 4 hours or more to be digested. And the next one, empty stomach has occasional contraction where the basic rate is the 3 per minute.
So we can see the fundus, antrum, pylorus, and also we can see the parietal cell and the neck mucous cell. Digestion of protein in stomach. First, protein food start to enter the stomach and then the stomach start to stretch and signaling the release of gastric juice. So in the gastric juice it have SLNC and inactive enzyme pepsinogen. So pepsinogen convert to active form pepsin that activate by HCl. So the pepsin break down long protein chain to shorter chain called peptidase. So next is chyme formation. So for chyme formation, the stomach mix food into the semi-liquid. And then the chyme move to the small intestine for further digestion.
Next, we will proceed with the small intestine, which will be divided in two parts, mechanical digestion and also chemical digestion. So, for mechanical digestion, we have two types of movements, which is segmentation and also migrating motility complexes, or also known as MMC. Segmentation is actually a mixing contractions which happen in the small intestine. It is to mix the chymes and also the other digestive juices. Refer to the picture above, we can see that segmentation is actually a movement where the chymes will move back and forth. Next, for the MMC, it is actually a type of peristalsis which will push the chymes and the other digestive juices to the end of the ileum. The function of this MMC is to clear the small intestine. Next, we will go to the chemical digestion parts. We have digestion of carbohydrates, digestion of proteins, digestion of lipids, and absorption of digested nutrients. For digestion of carbohydrates, we have pancreatic enzymes, which is amylase. It will break down the starch into smaller polysaccharides. So the next we will have brush border enzymes, which is lactase, that will break down the lactose to galactose and glucose. Sucrase will break down the sucrose to fructose and glucose, and maltase it will break down the maltose to glucose and glucose. Next, the digestion of proteins. We have pancreatic enzymes, which is protease. It will break down the polypeptides into smaller peptides. Then it will have a brush border enzymes, which is peptidase, that will break down the dipeptides into amino acid. Next, for digestion of lipids, we have bile salts that will help to emulsify the large fat droplets. Bile salts is actually produced in the liver and stored in the gallbladder.
Next, we have pancreatic lipase, which will break down the triglycerides into free fatty acids. In the last part of small intestine, we have absorption of digested nutrients by blood capillaries or lacteal. For blood capillaries, we have monosaccharides, amino acids, and water-soluble vitamin that will be absorbed into the blood. For the chylomicron, it will be absorbed in the lacteal, which is the specialized lymphatic vessels. Chylomicron is actually a combination of triglycerides and also the cholesterol. That's the end of the part in the small intestine. Next, for the large intestine, we have an absorption of water and the undigested food such as carbohydrates like fiber, and also the formation and storage of feces, or also known as poop. After digestion in the large intestine, we will continue with the last part of our body, which is rectum and anus. For the rectum, we will temporarily store the feces, which is poop, until the body is ready for defecation. The rectum has stretched receptors in the rectal walls, which will detect the presence of the feces, and these receptors will send signals to our brain to create the urge to defecate. Then it will push the feces towards the anus. For the last one, which is anus, we have the two sphincters that happen in the anus, which is internal anus sphincter and also external anus sphincter. Internal anal sphincter is actually an involuntary control. It is automatically controlled by the autonomic nervous system. It is to remain contracted most of the time to keep the anus closed and prevent accidental release of feces. So for the external anal sphincter, it is the voluntary control which will allows you to voluntarily control when to defecate. So with that, the feces, or also known as poop, will be expelled from your body through anus with your decision. In conclusion, we've already know about the digestive system in our body, so it is crucial and important for us to keep our body healthy. The digestive system is essential for maintaining life and providing energy to the body. So that's all from us. Thank you.